The financing, about half of the budget is financed by the government of Germany, the state of Hesse, and the city of Kassel. That's a base financing that's guaranteed. And the other half is brought in by entrance, by the tickets, so by the public. And for anything additionally to that, any fancy that grips us, we need to find additional sponsoring. So for instance, we have decided that we don't want to use a post-industrial building for showing art. There is a basis, a home for Documenta. There are two houses, the Friedrichianum, the museum, and a Documenta hall. But every Documenta needs more space than that, because these spaces are too small. So we have decided that we want to build a temporary building, a pavilion that will only be there for 100 days. But this will cost us about 3 million euros, which we don't have at this point. And we will need to find it in the next 6 weeks. So if you have any suggestions, please be forward. To come back to the audience, I said that the audience is in majority not art experts, that it's a lay public. So this audience lacks a sense of context. But there's also a loss of context, because artworks are taken from many, many different contexts in the world and transported to Kassel. If you don't think of these questions, if you don't have a curatorial concept for these questions, the problem is that there is a framework in which things are perceived, and that's a Eurocentric framework. So the audience will like whatever they already know, what they can read, and they will use that framework, which is implicit. They are not aware of the fact that they're using this implicit to judge the works of art. So you have to think of curatorial ways to counter the lack of context and the loss of context. And the magazine is one way of doing this. Another way is to create new kinds of contracts by thinking of the way that works from different places can exist next to each other and what happens in between those works. Another way is by providing education. But education does not simply mean to provide knowledge to people. Because even if you just think of the practical aspect, if you're doing an exhibition with works from so many different contexts, there's no way that people who come for 1 day or 2 days or maybe even 3 days can take in all these kinds of knowledges from all these different kinds of contexts. It's not a way to, you cannot compute this store and wealth of knowledge. So providing education means also to take away barriers that are in between the people and the contemplation of the work, the possibility to contemplate, to look at the work. So we will not have this a situation where there are guided tours that go through the exhibition and making a lot of noise all the time. But we will have within the exhibition kind of islands, situations where people can gather and sit around around a circle and be educated and discuss with an educator in this situation. This is very unusual because there's a tradition in Documenta of guided tours through the exhibition. So it will not be easy to explain to the public why we're changing the system. But we will have the help of designers and artists to make this space a space which is somehow like an anchor in the exhibition, or so you have many different anchors. And this is also a space where people can talk about their frustrations and aggressions, because this is also something that's implicit in this act of being confronted with so many things that one does not know anything about. The last thing I want to say is that we hope that we can get across to our public that it is more important to spend some time with one work and confront yourself with the situation of not knowing and trying to know and getting a step further to knowing than to see everything that there is and have an attitude of consumption or of ownership towards the work.